into another single lesson. Guys, Adam here, the Orlando Drummer. Glad you guys are here. Thank you for tuning in. So today we're learning a pretty straightforward snare groove. Now, when I say snare groove, I mean a groove that basically doesn't involve the hi-hats. Almost everything that's going on is taking place on the snare drum. Let me give you an example of a generic 16th note type of snare groove you might hear. One of many, one of thousands really. Snare grooves are super common in many different genres of music. Rock, pop, you can really often hear these in like Christian contemporary music. So they're used for all sorts of modern styles of music. And this particular variation today, I think, is just a really good example of what a clean 16th note single stroke snare groove might sound like. And we're going to break down what the single stroke part means. But first, let me play for you exactly what we have notated on the screen. I'll play it note for note, and then we'll talk about what's going on here. Check it out. So this entire thing is based off of 16th note single strokes. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, 1 E and 2 E and It's really that simple almost the entire time. The only variation in the pattern that we really have are the double strokes that happen at the very tail end of beat 4, and obviously we will get to those when the time comes. But for now, let's just talk through what's happening inside of beats 1 and 2. Now, beat 1 might trip you up if you've never done this before, but you're basically playing all ghost notes, right, left, nice and quiet, 1 E and on the snare, but you're going to add a kick drum to each of the right hands. So we would have this sort of thing. And you can just throw that on repeat if you want to get used to it. Now, you want to make sure that your hands are the same volume even when the right hands have the kick drum underneath them. That should not affect the volume of those right hands. All 4 of those first ghost notes, and really almost all of the ghost notes inside of this measure, should be equal volume regardless of what else is happening underneath them or around them. So when we get to the downbeat of 2, we have a right hand snare backbeat. So let's play 1 E and 2, stopping on that loud snare. Now, obviously, we're just continuing with these single strokes. The pattern doesn't really change until far later in the measure. So now let's continue those single strokes up until the end of beat 2. The last note of beat 2, you can see, is that barked hi-hat. Now, we're going to bark this with our left hand. This is just how single strokes, this is how the single strokes fall inside of 16th notes. If you are playing right hand lead single strokes inside of 16th notes and you want an of any beat of music to be open, that is going to fall on the left hand. So this is what we're dealing with in the first 8 notes here. Let's play all the way up until the 8th note in the measure. That's the last note of beat 2. So we'll stop with that barked hi-hat. Check it out, exactly as it's written. Once more, really slow, just so we can see the pattern. Now, moving on, we actually don't have too much to cover because remember, we're still playing single strokes here. Pattern itself has not really changed. What's a little bit odd about beat 3 is the kick drum that happens on the and of beat 3. Now, normally, that's a super common, easy to hear place to put a kick drum. It's not that weird of a place to put a kick, but lining up with that right hand inside the middle of the beat without a kick drum also on the downbeat of 3, that can be a little bit tricky. And what we're doing here is setting up this classic hip hop feeling. So beat 3 in of itself, right, and a kick, then a left hand ghost note. When we get to beat 4 is where things get a little bit more tricky. So we have, again, a right hand accented snare. That's on the downbeat of 4. This is our second backbeat. But immediately after that, on the left hand, which is a ghost note on the snare, on that 16th note, the E of 4, we have another kick drum that happens with the left. And this is actually the first and only time in this measure that there is a kick drum with the left hand. So this one can get a little bit tricky if you haven't worked through, kick drums underneath alternating 16th notes, right? So these kick placements, the and of beat 3 and then the E of beat 4, this is what makes this groove so tricky. In my eyes, this is the most difficult part of this entire groove, is figuring out where those kicks live. But the kick drums themselves, if you just heard them without the context of these alternating ghosted 16th notes, it's really pretty normal places to put kick drums. It's just a matter of getting them aligned with your alternating 16th note single strokes and having these ghost notes, stacked on top of kick drums. That is what takes so much time to get used to. Now, while we're already here at the end, I'm just going to tell you what's happening inside of beat 4. The last two 16th notes would have been and we would have 4E and But instead of playing and just this 2 16th notes, each one of those strokes gets doubled. So we're playing right, left, and that is doubled in subdivision. So it's 30-second notes. They're twice the speed. We have twice the notes in the same amount of time, and that's nice and easy. Right, left, ghosted on the snare, leads us right back into the downbeat of 1. So now that we've talked through everything that's happening, I'm just going to play this at multiple speeds for you. Now, keep in mind, there is no substitute for working through the permutations that are going to unlock your kick drum underneath these types of 16th notes. If you haven't worked through any of the subdivision masterclasses, that focus on 16th note permutations will make this that much easier. It's just a matter of hearing where each one of these potential 16th notes could live, and it opens up a lot of different hip-hop grooves kind of in this realm. Okay. Everything as you see on the screen, we'll play it exactly as it's written. Pay close attention to the kick drums that are placed on the and of beat 3 and on the E of beat 4. Those are the most likely points that'll get you hung up here. And then also make sure that you're evenly spacing those 30-second note diddles at the end. All right, let's give it a shot. A few speeds.